Sock Show. I'm the Trev. Sweet. New hat. Digging it? I'm digging it. But anyway, better late than never, right? All new hats aside, here's a move everybody saw coming. Well, at least everybody I talked to anyway. I'm sure a lot of other people out there, they probably expected this one too. It was announced yesterday afternoon that Kyle Dubas and the Toronto Maple Leafs would be parting ways at the end of Dubas' contract, which ends at the end of June. So, how's the dominoes going to fall in this one? That's my question. But either way, Kyle Dubas is out as general manager in Toronto. You can either rejoice or start to cry, depending on what side of the fence you sit, right? But we're going to do what we do best. Let's talk about it. All right, it's a brief little history lesson. Kyle Dubas was promoted to general manager on May 11th, 2018, when he took over the position from a then-party Lou Lamoriello. And at the time, he was only 32 years old, which made him one of, if not the youngest, general managers at the time. I don't remember if it was him or Peter Shikra that was the youngest general manager in league history. But anyway, under Dubas, as far as regular season was concerned, the Leafs went 221, 109, and 42 in his 5 years as a GM, which also includes a first-place finish in the North Division, if you count the 2020-21 season. And I'm sorry, it's pretty much down in history at this point, so it counts. But one division championship under Dubas. But as far as playoff success was concerned, granted they made the playoffs every season Dubas was a general manager. But when your record is only 1-4 and you've only escaped the first round one time in the last 19 years, and that was this season when they made it to the second round before they lost to Florida, that's a hard pill to swallow, especially in a place like Toronto. And one kind of got the impression after the year-end press conference on Monday that Dubas was already checking out at that point. At least I got that impression. He just wasn't interested in talking about his future with or without the Maple Leafs. But, I kind of got that impression that he was done. And, given the fact that he had a one-year extension last season, I think he kind of knew it was only a matter of time. Because one has to remember, at the time of that press conference, the message was very clear. It was either this year or it's not happening with you in charge. So I think at this point we just remove the if it's you in charge part, and we're just going with it's not happening. But we're not even saying when it's going to happen at this point. Now, as far as free agency is concerned, the two biggest names that come to the top of my head are John Tavares and Jason Spezza. Now, as it stands now, Spezza retired a Leaf, and Tavares is still the team captain for the moment, unless that changes. That's up to the new GM, right? Right. We'll talk about that when we get there. But at the same time, he also managed to keep the core four. Bringing in Tavares was the start of the core four, but he kept Matthews, he kept Marner, and he signed Nylander to that contract, that whatever it is contract, that just looks incredibly bad. But either way, he kept the core four together for at least this season. And who's to say what the core four looks like next season under a new GM? That's, again, a different topic for a different day. We're not going to cross that bridge right now. Now, under Dubas, the Maple Leafs only went through two coaches, which is pretty damn good considering most teams are going through coaches like it's going out of style. First was Mike Babcock, who I'm pretty sure we've talked about. But Babcock never really fit Dubas' style, which brought on coach number 2, and current head coach Sheldon Keefe. For how long he's current, that remains to be seen. Now, as far as bigger trades is concerned, this season alone, he did bring in Ryan O'Reilly for the playoff run, but that did kind of backfire in his face, as O'Reilly spent most of the time on injured reserve after breaking his finger. And he did trade for Mark Giordano last season out of Seattle. And if this was Giordano 3 or 4 years ago, maybe even 5, that would have been an awesome trade for Toronto. Unfortunately, Giordano's at a point where he's not the defensive threat he used to be, but hey, if Toronto want to keep some, why not, right? So there's that. It's not to say that he was bad at making trades, just for what he did bring in, it didn't really work out in his favor, ever. But, you know, then there's the draft, and really there was really no first round picks to speak of. Toronto only really had 2 first round picks under Kyle Dubas. The rest are all second rounds or later. Rasmus Sandin was drafted 29th in the 2018 draft, which was Dubas's first. And Royon Amarov was drafted number 15 in the 2022 entry draft. And, well, he was drafted out of the KHL. And, well, you should know how well development and players coming over from the KHL works. I shouldn't have to explain that to you. So as far as drafting first rounders, it's not really there, but drafting overall, he can do that. The problem is players take a while to develop under Dubas. He's reliant on the superstars and the veterans, and I can't say I blame him. I mean, consider the market he was in, right? So if you remember earlier, I was saying the domino effect, and, well, I think there's going to be a huge one to play here in Toronto, and what kind of domino effect are we going to see is the best question. Here's some of the questions that, you know, might have some merit or some of the answers in them. We just don't see them yet. One of the first dominoes was Jason Spezza, who had a front office gig with the team, handed in his resignation after it was announced that Dubas wasn't coming back as GM. On top of that, the Toronto Marlies, who is the Maple Leafs farm club, parted ways with their entire coaching staff not long after the announcement was made. So one kind of speculates, how long until Sheldon Keefe is gone? Because you got to think that's only a matter of time. And that's totally dependent on the new GM. But you got to think Keefe is part of the Dubas program. Whoever the new GM comes in probably isn't playing by the same book. And what is the new GM going to do about the core four? Everybody's contract is either expiring in 23-24 or 24-25. It's 2 every year. And you got to think some of these guys are probably outplaying their stay in Toronto as far as money is concerned. I mean, I'm not doubting Toronto has open and empty and limitless pockets, but I'm sure even a guy like Matthews, as good as he is and will be, ain't going to come cheap, no matter what the cost is. And that playoff success is always going to be a burden, or at least the lack thereof as far as playoff success is concerned. Again, going 1 for 4. I mean, yeah, congrats. You made it past the first round for the first time in 19 years. Everybody's proud of you, but a 1-4 record in 5 years is nothing to be terribly proud of as far as your series played is concerned. So new GM is going to have to fix that. And if breaking up the core four is the way to do it, to bring in pieces that will guarantee you long-term playoff success, much less a Stanley Cup, who am I kidding? Something's got to give, right? Right. And while I myself personally don't believe a rebuild is in the works, there will definitely be a retool, and there will be pieces taken out and pieces put in. It depends on how far the new GM wants to take this team and where he wants them to go from the time he takes over, is the way I would look at it. But either way, change is coming in Toronto. Dubas was the first. I'm sure there's more along the way. So let's stay tuned. This could get interesting. So let me know your thoughts on Kyle Dubas and the Toronto Maple Leafs parting ways. Another one of his hockey shows. Don't think I don't appreciate the gesture, especially if you've made it to this point. It's a great thing for both of us. I can't stress that enough. But if you are here, let me know you're here. Hit the thumbs up. You know, say hey. You dig what I'm doing? Hit the thumbs up. That red button. That one's to subscribe all over it. We're so close to 250, I can almost taste it. And subscribe will make you feel good. So if you haven't already, do it up. That social that I never use, It's in the description down below. Let's move forward. Well, I'm going to get to more Seattle videos here eventually. Provided nothing big happens tomorrow, I might just do them tomorrow. But either way, in the meantime, in between time, be looking for more videos from the Trev. Later.